Oh, well, hi. How you doing, folks? Welcome to another episode of High Yanxiety. We'd like to call this one the Autopsy Report, at least part one of it, because this is going to go on for a while, let's be honest. I would like to, welcome our returning champion, Wayne Franklin. How are you, brother?
Wait a minute. I'm returning champion?
Well, yeah, you're the returning champion.
Man, I'd have been a lot more cocky had I known that.
Well, you have time. You have time. We have a half hour for you to, put your put your champion pants on, and we're good to go. Yeah, you
Wearing
want to
black,
do like
dude.
the
Wearing
discount
black.
double check thing?
Wearing black,
Oh,
not
see, I
because
like
Johnny Cash. Not because Johnny. This
no,
is all
not
about
because of Johnny Cash at all. Just because. That's
in
fair.
mourning.
All
We're
right.
in mourning,
And
dude.
wearing the well, that's fine. Wearing the fresh pine tar shirt and pinch hitting for Deb Seymour today. We've got, you might know him better as not Gaetti, the father of this man was underrated. Jesus.
I am a
Unfortunately, this is live, so I can't
underrated
take that
man.
back. But this man was underrated. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Gulino, not Gaetti. How you doing, brother? And I like that shirt.
I'm doing great, and thanks for the shirt.
It's solid.
You're welcome. Well, you didn't have to put that part out there. But you're welcome. We have to keep concert musicians clothed. I know
That's
how that
right.
works.
Well, not
As
to
a
mention, no
As a
matter
bassist, I know how it works.
no matter who you root for, George Brett, what is not to like?
Think about it.
He's a funny guy too.
Funny guy.
Funny guy.
I've always had a soft spot for lefty hitting third baseman. I think those are a rarity. You got
It is.
a lefty hitting third baseman who can use the whole field, hit for power, hit for average. Think of what that adds to your squad. Think of what that adds to your lineup. Because, most of these hot corner guys can't do it all. Always look up to George Brett.
Yes.
Is it just a coincidence that you're talking about George Brett wearing a pine tar shirt? I'm just asking.
Yeah, well, I think the other third baseman we were planning to talk about tonight is Josh Donaldson. So,
and by no means is he a lefty, is he?
No, or a hitter.
Maybe he is.
By no means is he a hitter, is
he? Maybe he is at this point. I don't know.
You know what? He might do better hitting lefty at this point because he couldn't possibly do any worse.
I felt bad for the guy.
I'm glad you did, but that's only because you're a former player. We did.
Yeah, it is. Yep, you're right. I'm guilty.
We did not feel bad for him. I realized I went back and looked at my stupid Facebook feed that I haven't used in like 3 years, and for about a good 4 days, everything just said Josh Donaldson sucks. And if you didn't see that yesterday, Josh Donaldson sucks, and he sucked. He lost it. And Frank, go ahead. I know you said you wanted to air some grievances, and especially about Josh Donaldson. I hope this doesn't turn into a half hour.
Do that video.
Josh Donaldson.
Do the video again.
Which is fine because we can do it again tomorrow. There's plenty to talk about.
No,
but
video.
I'm here because of the clip, right? Wayne saw it. You saw it, Chris.
Oh my God!
In the middle of the game, he had just, I think, struck out for the second time in Game 4.
Looking? Was it when he was looking?
I don't remember which one it was.
Doesn't matter.
It was the second one of the day.
It could have been one of 25 times.
I was in disbelief because here's the thing. His at-bats are very, very short. I feel like I've never seen somebody strike out on 3 pitches so often. His at-bats are non-competitive. He just doesn't even seem like he cares about striking out on 3 pitches. He doesn't really seem that amped about trying to get on base. And the worst is when he's got these moments where he'll whiff and then just like chuckle his whole way back to the dugout. And people deal with failure in different ways, but I don't know how to take that when we're watching this team who didn't get particularly close to winning the pennant. They didn't get particularly close to not being swept. And he's a guy that's making like $25 million a year and was supposed to be like part of the answer, right, for how to win the pennant. And just was like a pretty big disappointment, but especially, recently. And I I could not believe that day after day with these offers and these 3-pitch at bats that his name is just on the lineup card over and over and over when you've got options and you know that the team is willing to explore options, right? They rolled out 3 leadoff hitters in 3 games, 3 shortstops in 3 games. Why does Josh Donaldson have job security when like nobody else does? They're reinventing the wheel every day, but he's like the cog in the machine that's indispensable. And then he goes up there and has these terrible at-bats. And I cannot remember the last time I was just like that confused as a fan of baseball.
Yeah, no, it's almost bewildering what happened and how he was out there. I mean, look, I mean, you have to give the guy credit. He can pick it at third base. I mean, you have.
Yeah,
I will.
Totally.
I'll give him all the credit in the world there. He didn't lose a step defensively. But with the bat, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's arguing what are clearly strike threes that he's just looking at. And then he's just watching go by him, and then he's going to argue, and then, like you said, he just kind of chuckles and looks like the Cheshire Cat, kind of with a shit-eating grin on his way back to the dugout. Now, Wayne, you said you do feel bad for him, and I get that. I mean, I don't, you know, I'm not going to send the guy a flaming bag of poop or anything, but you know, it's not like the thought hasn't crossed my mind. But you know. What do you think when you see a guy in that situation that is just flailing? It is that lost at the plate. Can he get it back? Can he show his face in the Bronx next year?
Can he show his face?
Yeah.
I mean, people thought he should have been sent out to pasture a couple years ago, and then he goes to Atlanta and lights it up.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, is he a guy who just needs to be motivated? I don't know, but. Yeah, I saw what everybody else saw. I mean, I saw some pretty shabby at bats, and I saw what bothered me, both as a player and as a fan, is that I didn't see a lot of it. It was almost apathy more than anything.
Yeah. No, I agree. And you know, I mean, you know, for a guy that's supposed to be a spark plug and a fiery guy. I didn't see that when he, you know, I mean, you know, he would say a couple of words to Adrian Johnson or whoever the hell was behind the plate and, you know, walk back to the dugout. Okay, wonderful. Now, that said, next season, what does that do for the third base position for the New York Yankees? I've already seen people like, do we get Xander Bogaerts and make him play third?
No.
Absolutely. You get Xander Bogaerts, you let him play shortstop. They haven't had a shortstop in how long? You know,
best athlete, man.
But I don't know. I mean, what do you guys see happening there? And you know, let's just talk about lineup turnover for a second. Like, what do you realistically see happening? You know, everybody wants to fire everybody into the sun. Trade Glaber, trade Donaldson, trade Hicks. What the hell are you trading Hicks and Donaldson for? Really?
That's irrational. Everybody's just being irrational.
Who wants them?
Yeah, it's just irrationality.
But so let's be reasonable. And Frank, I'll ask you, who do you see not returning to this team realistically? And I'm not talking about Judge walking or Rizzo like opting out. Let's say that we'll get to that later. Believe me. But
yeah,
what do you see changing there?
So much of it kind of hinges on those big pieces, though, right? Because, like, if Judge leaves, of course Rizzo's going to opt out. I have to think that if Judge stays, Rizzo maybe says, hey, this is, like, worthwhile. I think Rizzo's a tremendous first baseman. Obviously, like, lefty power, plays well at Yankee Stadium. We've seen him beat the shift a couple times. Not that that's going to be an issue going forward. I mean, you take the shift away, maybe Rizzo is a more complete hitter. He'll still benefit from the stadium a lot, but I think for him to have interest in staying, you need the big guy to stay. So, I mean, I think a lot of what next year looks like will come down to that. Like we were just talking about Donaldson, the one thing I do want to say in his defense is he's kind of up against something unfair in that all of the fans think of MVP Donaldson, 40 homer Donaldson,
right?
Guy who posted a 900 OPS like 5 times. And the reality is now he's a glove first guy who is just still owed all this money because he used to be a legit MVP caliber player. And so I think the expectations are really high. And it's like, at some point, we just have to come to terms with the fact that he's not going to hit 40 homers. He's not going to like have a 900 OPS. He's a great third baseman and might still be next year. And then but IKF is a Gold Glove third baseman with no stick, also, right? How many of these types do we need? IKF is the more affordable one. What is his status for next season? He's still around. IKF.
I don't know if it's an arbitration year or not. I know he had come out and said it's possible he gets non-tendered, which I don't know exactly what his contract's all about, but I'd rather have him than Donaldson, which is, I know, a hot take. But
yeah, and unless you get a marquee guy, I just think there's so much opportunity to get young players action.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that drove me crazy is they call up these young, talented guys to have them sit on the bench a lot, and that's not how guys get acclimated. Cabrera did so much better once he started getting regular ABs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody just, if you're going to call them up, like, they deserve a shot. And so if you're going to bring up young players and have them on the roster opening day, you should really be planning to use them.
No, I 100% agree. Hell, the Astros had a young guy named Jeremy Pena, who kind of, look what he did. Regular ABs, played all year.
Had an amazing
ALCS MVP. The kid's a beast. The kid's great. So, Wayne, what do you think about that with, the young players coming up? And are they gonna bring him up? Are they gonna wait until September to bring up Volpe? What the hell are they doing here?
Well, I think there's a serious identity crisis on in the Yankees lineup. So many guys think they're middle of the order hitters, and they're not. They're just not. And we don't have a true leadoff guy yet, and it just doesn't seem like anybody wants to do the small things to win a ball game. That's what I love about DJ LeMahieu. I miss that dude, and I think that's your third baseman moving forward.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it too. He's a great defender there, and he's going to hit. And the guy's a gamer, and he's going to have long at bats, and he's big in the playoffs too. And I would love to see Benintendi come back. I know he's only on a 1-year deal, so I just think that having both him and DJ in the lineup, there's just a lot of shit they can do together. You got a guy like Bader in there, and you got him and Benintendi with their speed, and it's just great. They got to do a lot of things.
That's what they were. That's what they were missing, and that's what they were doing the whole first half of the season when they were 52-18, and they were, they looked unbeatable, and they, this is the team, this is the thing.
They were the team. I would have put them against anybody.
But they were doing everything, all the little things correct, playing good defense, stealing bases, putting the ball in play, moving guys over, productive outs, which is something that we didn't see anything of.
And they were healthy.
Post All-Star break. And they were healthy. Yes. I thought bringing in Bader, it was a good move. And I think him in the lineup with guys like Benintendi and DJ, that would have helped them. This year. Would they have won? I don't know.
Maybe. I still think they would have.
Maybe. But I know they wouldn't have gotten swept.
Yeah. No, after everything we've been through, like the last month, it's hard to remember that the Yankees were the first team in the big leagues to 70 wins. Yeah. And then didn't make it to 100. When they were healthy and they were all clicking, it was great. So, Wayne, if you've got DJ and Bader and Benintendi, is one of those your leadoff guy?
Oh yeah, I I think DJ could be a solid 2-hitter. I mean, he used to be the ideal 2-hitter. He used to be the ideal guy at the 2-hole, but Benintendi or Bader could lead off, or you could lead off Benintendi, have Bader hit 9th. I mean, you got back-to-back. You got bookend speed.
Now,
right there.
I think that's that's also a good segue into the analytics stuff, because I'm with you. Like, DJ is kind of what I think of as a 2-hitter, right? That's an old school. That's an old school 2-hitter. Yeah, he's a professional hitter. DJ LeMahieu is a 2-hitter, like Derek Jeter is a 2-hitter.
That's right.
But today, Aaron Judge and Mike Trout are 2-hitters, and sometimes Pete Alonso is a 2-hitter, right? It's like, I understand, like, there's logic in wanting to get these guys more at bats. You get incrementally more per game over the course of the season. You get, who knows how many more. But in terms of, like, I don't know, they'll tell you lineup psychology and lineup construction doesn't matter, that it's a myth. And I think they only say that because you can't necessarily quantify it. You're like, oh, just look at runners on base. And it's like, it's not that simple. I mean,
it's not.
When you're on the hill and you know who's coming up, aren't you, like, grateful to get through Mike Trout on the second batter of the game than have him still on deck while you're pitching to the first 2 guys?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to work hard as hell to get that leadoff guy out. I get him out. If I give up a solo home run to Mike Trout in the first inning, do I care? No. I don't plan on losing 1-0. It's like, I'm going to go after it. But now if these guys can get on base, maybe get a guy who fights off, bloop shot for a base hit. You get a first inning rally, get another guy on. The second guy gets on, hits behind the runner. Now you got first and third. Mike Trout's up. If he's hitting third. And I played with the best hitter any of us have ever seen. That was Barry. He had cleanup. He didn't always hit in the first inning.
Yeah, they didn't need to move him up and reinvent the wheel again, like Frank said. I mean, you just don't have to do that. I mean,
because it's so simple,
odds, man.
It's logic. I mean, Barry is going to hit fourth, and whoever is hitting third is going to have one hell of a year. Jeff Kent.
Right. They're going to see some strikes.
Yeah.
Get guys on. But I mean, then again, and again, I'm not blaming analytics, because I mean, that's easy. But I mean, I can blame them for not knowing how to use their analytics, because their analytics department seems like they're just like chasing their tails, like my dog likes to do still. I mean, it just, the implementation of the data, and you ask anybody who managed, look at Joe Madden. Joe Madden loves numbers. I mean, he loves having that at his disposal. But you can't just lean on that completely, and you can't,
And
so,
I mean it's gone too far.
What do they do there now? Is this a thing that comes down to the GM? Where nothing would change unless his philosophy changes, or does he change his mind? Which I don't see happening. How do you change that? How do you do that with the current regime, like with Cashman and with Fishman, and obviously Boone's not going anywhere. So what do you do in that instance where, it's so obvious, apparently it's so obvious for every fan around the world to see it. Even Michael Kay's bitching about it, how come? I mean, are there 3 people in the damn organization that just don't see that, or they're just not willing to change from that? Because we've been sitting here for 13 years doing the same friggin' thing. No World Series.
That's all they know how to do, though. The guys that are there now, that's all.
That's not good. That's not good enough.
Do baseball. They don't know.
So technically, if you break it down, all they know how to do is not win when it counts.
I think analytics are great when you're trying to defend.
Of course they are.
I think they're great. I think they're best on defense. But I mean, the word analytics, they've always been around. We've always had spray charts. That's how you defend people. We've watched and we've seen what guys swing at. Yeah. So it's not a new thing. Just like the shift is not new. So they think they're reinventing the wheel, and they're not. They're making one big ugly ass car is what they're making.
They're making it harder for themselves. Like,
there you go. There you go.
Like, you saw the thing about Carpenter, right? Cracking the lineup after having not played in 2.5 months.
Because his swing velocity in the cage?
His swing velocity during BP. They're like, oh, that's back. So let's put him in the lineup. Let's get him some reps. And, you know, he can swing the bat hard. I'm glad he can still swing the bat hard. That's nice. But after 2.5 months of not playing baseball in competitive games, and you're facing Houston Astros pitching in the ALCS.
They faced the top 2 pitching staffs in baseball in the playoffs.
Yeah, and so it's like, listen, I would go over 4 with 4 Ks too, because that's a tough situation. And for whoever in the front office is making this decision, who says, I like your bat speed, you're hitting 5 today. I mean, not really setting him up for success. And stuff like that makes it feel like analytics is almost an immovable object in the organization.
But think about that.
How you undo that?
Think about what you're telling a player when you say, I love your bat speed. So a guy starts sitting there thinking, maybe I'd just keep swinging the shit out of it. And no matter how bad I look, I can get a long-term deal. Screw it.
I mean, Matt Carpenter, though, Matt Carpenter never struck me as that kind of guy. I mean, you know, Matt Carpenter knows. No. I mean, and of course he's a gamer. He wants to go out there. He wants to play.
Oh, I root for the guy. He's awesome.
Yeah, I loved him. You know, when he came over, and I love the story. But I mean, like Frank just said, and you know, to Frank's point, you set him up to fail, and you know, you set him up to fail in that situation, and that it's like you feel that's a guy I feel bad for.
Yeah,
you know, and recall that. You know, obviously he's coming back from a foot thing, so there was no way he was going to play the field. And so the other piece that had to happen is Stanton is in left field at Yankee Stadium for the first time in over 3 years. It was 2019. And you saw the Astros; they ran on his arm all day.
The one time they really needed Hicks and he got hurt.
Exactly. They had a shallow sac fly, and then a 2-run single that was not hit particularly deep to left. Sure. And even Gurriel tagged up from first base on Stanton's arm on the sac fly. Yeah, right? I mean, this stuff was blowing my mind. And it's like, if these analytics folks are so smart, they know just in they were more of a park bats, all the time, play a couple of minutes ahead and be like, okay, so Stanton's not a real outfielder anymore. And people are just going to run on this guy all day. Not that it matters when you only get 3 hits in the game, but
yeah,
that's another thing. I mean, you know, and that's approach, and that's, you know, again, it is. Will Dylan Lawson once again be the scapegoat? You know, because just so they fire somebody, will you just fire? Let's fire the new hitting coach. I mean, like, who else do you need to bring in? You know, I mean, I don't know.
I got a statement to make.
Freaking frustrating.
Based on what you guys were just saying about the base hits to Stanton and sending runners on, not in the least was that an analytics call, because the odds say, okay, if he hits it this far, you're not going to score. It's these things of a ball coach right here. You reading the play. I'm sorry, but I'm going to say that because analytics people they're going to take credit for it, but what'd you do for that? That's just seeing things and knowing.
Yeah. And that's where I believe something, you know, having a guy like Dusty Baker as your manager, while, you know, let the guys in the, you know, in their comfortable chairs in the office, let them do their thing with the numbers. But you have a guy like Dusty Baker who's taking that information, processing it, and still, you know, you have to be on your toes. I mean, you have to watch the game in front of you, right?
It's still a baseball game.
It's still a baseball game. These are still his players, and he knows his players. And that's the same thing with Rob Thompson. I mean, these players would run through a wall for these guys. And having baseball people at least somewhere in the chain between front office and the actual field, you need that. And that's what kills me about Aaron Boone is that you can't tell me that Aaron Boone is not a fucking baseball person. I mean, he's a third generation baseball guy.
Absolutely.
There's no way in hell that he is that bad of a manager. There's just not.
No.
I mean, there's no way. So that really, sticks in my craw, which it's a
well, I mean, you
term I
guys
never get to use, but
you guys been watching
that's what gets me.
You guys been watching them all year. I mean, how many times did you hear them say early in the year, the first half, when the only person that beat him is God, probably. That's about it. But how many times did you hear somebody say, man, Boone just keeps making the right calls from that bullpen, just keeps on making right calls. The minute things go haywire,
that's true.
Now he sucks. All of a sudden he sucks, and I'm like, you just don't start sucking like that. I'm sorry, you don't. But I don't blame him.
It does. No, of course you can't. I mean, like I said, the guy has forgotten more baseball than anything I'll ever pretend to know. I mean, again, just where he grew up and how he grew up. So, I mean, I don't want to kill Boone.
No.
But do I think the Yankees might do better with a different manager? Yes.
Mattingly.
I know you're going to keep saying Mattingly.
That's so biased. It's so biased.
I'll give it a shot. But
that's my guy.
Truth is,
I don't care. Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is something that I was thinking of midway through the season when the whole team started going to hell. Now, Frank, I'll ask you first. I mean, seriously, did something change? Was Boone managing more in the first half, or did they just blow out everybody? Everybody was wiped out and shot by the All-Star break. Penn was overused. Offensively they're exhausted. Did that happen, or did maybe things come down from above, and they kind of handcuffed him a little? I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say, because I wonder things like that when I'm bored.
I mean, obviously, they dealt with a lot of injuries to some key guys. Honestly, I think the worst aspect of it was probably just psychological and snowballed and got worse and worse and worse. You have a bad series after a bad series, and suddenly you're everything just feels like it's going downhill. And I mean, people talk about how New York is such a tough place to play or whatever, which I mean, sometimes sometimes maybe fans are unfair, but the expectations are high. That's the bottom line, right? You saw Judge getting booed in the postseason. 62 home runs, you see him getting booed.
A couple days later, I know.
Yeah, and so
bullshit.
I mean,
it is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
How about Chapman deserting the team, right? And as soon as the tattoo thing happened, I was like, that's it. The wheels are falling off, right? Chapman goes on the IL with an infection from getting a tattoo that he couldn't wait till the offseason to get. And I'm thinking, this is not the kind of team that is going to just sweep its way to the number 28. You know what I mean?
No, the dysfunction was real.
The dysfunction was real. That just put it on display to even the casual fan who's like, what the hell is going on? But, it's I think a lot of bullpen arms had some miles on them. You don't see starters pitching super deep into games, which is something I complain about all the time.
Well,
bullshit
that's
too.
Another show. That's a whole other show.
It's
we
a
got
whole
all
other
off season to talk about that, brother.
All of these topics tied together and are the source of frustration. But I think they're also all the source of why the team we saw in the first half didn't just say we're the new 98 Yankees, we're going to win 120 games. Because if they played like they played, everybody, they were saying the right things. They were doing the right things.
Yeah.
Every guy on that team was sounded like a leader, played like a leader. And then in the second half, it's all right, who's the least banged up? You're leading off today, I guess. And it was just really kind of curious. I mean, it felt like it took everything to beat Cleveland, who had the second fewest home runs in baseball, right?
Yeah.
And then it's really you're clawing your way to beat Cleveland. You're not going to beat the Astros,
who won a mediocre division, and they, it's just. I mean, how much of that is the constant changing of lineups? How much of that is, I mean, running out a different team there every day. There's no continuity. There's no routine. There's no, I mean, I'm sure, what the Yankees believe is they can stick somebody anywhere, as seen by the, freaking shortstop revolving door over the last couple of years. I mean, Wayne, like, how much, I know you're in the pitching department, but I mean, how much does a constant lineup? Freaking Astros ran out the same lineup every day. They dominated. They knew where they were in the lineup. They knew what their roles were. They knew who was hitting behind them. They knew what they had to do with their approach at the plate. That's just the way I viewed it. Again, what the hell do I know? So that's why I'm asking you, the guy who's been there, to answer that question.
Well, I always consider myself lucky because I knew hitting way before I knew pitching. Being a two-way player in college, I even hit cleanup. I was a cleanup hitter. I would pitch on Friday, play first base on Saturday, and play right field on Sunday. That's what it was. It was that. I hit cleanup. I didn't even know what I was going to get drafted at. Honest to God.
Fair.
So but I use that to my advantage as a professional player. I was like, well, I'm going to think about things as a hitter when I'm pitching, and vice versa.
He's smart.
Absolutely. Yes. So, I think there's so many things. It's so hard to speculate because there's so many things, so many variables. We don't know how it is in the clubhouse. We don't know if there's frustration between Boone and the front office and the players are knowing about it, or there's frustration between Boone and some of the players, or whatever. There's a million possibilities. And somewhere along in that second half, there was just a lot of confidence got sucked out of that team. Something happened. I don't know what.
No, you're right.
They lost. They literally had no heart at some point. And I also think that's what won Judge the MVP. What he had to do in August to keep their
100%.
They never dropped out of first place, even after that crap month. Like, he held them above water. I mean, that's what an MVP does. So I can't see anybody else winning an MVP other than that guy. What he did for them this year,
he carried them.
Pay him until the day he dies. They should pay him.
No, you're absolutely right. Until the day it's like a Bobby Bonilla deal.
Bonilla, man. You can go Bonilla times 3 or something, man. Like, just pay me until the year.
You're just getting paid until 2072.
There you go.
Whatever it takes, I'm fine with it. We're getting up.
Hey, Judge, what he wants.
Yeah,
yes.
We're getting up against.
I love that. That's a good mantra out there on Twitter, man. That's what you do. You got to pay that guy.
It's pay the man.
They may have pissed him off, though. He might be pissed off. And he's going to say.
And I would not be surprised. I mean, if somebody makes a better offer, it's
going to break my heart, man. It'll break my heart.
I was talking to you the other night, Wayne, and ultimately it's going to come down to him, like you just said. I mean, if there's animosity there, if there's a problem there, and he wants out, there's not going to be a lack of suitors for him.
That was, to me, if he leaves, that is the sign of the times for the Yankees. They've never had their
who would they replace him with? Let's play a game before we have to cut. But let's play a quick game. If he walks, how do you replace him? Because it's not only going to be with one player. Who do you replace him with?
You go and sign Bogart and Trey Turner and make them your shortstop and second baseman. Put DJ at third.
You'd have to.
And then you got those two up the middle. You got Bader up the middle. Maybe upgrade catcher. Go get Salvi. Go get Salvador Perez, man. Put him behind plate.
I mean, for his age, he's still. We want to see if Yachty wants one more year. I take him too.
2 years ago, the guy had 48 home runs.
I know. I have no problem. I like Salvi. I have no beef with Salvi from me.
And Vasquez. He's willing to catch every day. You put Salvi behind the dish, he will play. He'll be in your lineup every day. You give him some DH days, he'll be there.
I agree. Frank, what do you think? If Judge walks, what do they do?
I would walk. The thing I can't stop thinking about with Judge is that he's got a very unique opportunity, right? He has the opportunity in the biggest market in the country to be the face of Major League Baseball. If he stays,
which he's already kind of started doing,
but he's King Kong, man. He's King Kong
permanently. You know what I mean? if he has the opportunity to be a one franchise guy with the New York Yankees, probably named captain, like on the heels of an MVP, get a monster contract, and he will be the guy with his face on everything that's related to Major League Baseball. And the only thing that makes that less appealing to him is the fact that he has one of the great offensive seasons in baseball history and winds up getting booed and winds up getting swept out of the ALCS.
Yeah.
And I mean, to go into the offseason that way probably has him being like, look, I just want to get paid. Like, this was not fun. I hate going to work and getting booed by the fans. Like, if you want a Judge to stay, appreciate that baseball is hard. And, like, he had a great season. And, you know, not everybody hits against great pitching. And it shouldn't be the case that if Judge doesn't hit, nobody else does either. And that's why it's like talking about how do you replace him? We watched a month and a half of baseball where he was the whole offense.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Go 0-30 when that happens next year? Like,
yep.
I don't know.
George Steinbrenner would have already locked him up, man. George Steinbrenner would have already locked him up.
If he's not rolling over in his grave by now, it's never going to happen.
If Judge leaves, you might see George's ghost out at Yankee Stadium.
You know, I'd be okay with that. And in the spirit of Halloween, I will say this. I do believe that the ghost of George Steinbrenner should come out and probably haunt that clubhouse for, you know, just a couple days. Scare the shit out of these guys. Put the fear of George in them. The fear of the boss in them.
Is that what you want him to do? Kick his son in the ass?
Pretty much. And just, you know, I mean, and then bring the ghost of Hank too. Why not? They should the two of them, they could scare the shit out of anyone, and the Yankees are going, they're winning 130 games next year, and everything's fine. But as we are up against it, and I do have to drive up to LA, hooray. I'm gonna get one last thought from you guys, and this is, as a fan, what disappointed you most about this postseason? And I don't even know where to start. I'll let you guys discuss that amongst yourselves. I'll tell you my answer. Fucking everything. So that's it. That's mine. Frank, go ahead.
The frustrating thing is that this is a team with like almost unparalleled talent, right? Judge almost won a triple crown. He hit 62 home runs.
Unbelievable.
Stanton is a guy who has hit 59 homers, right? He's an MVP.
And
those
he didn't
guys
the postseason either. I can't blame him.
No, I mean
he always shows up.
I'm probably tougher on Stanton on Twitter than a lot of people, but the truth is, when he hits the ball, it stays hit, right? He hits line drives that get a second wind as they're leaving the stadium. And if you have guys like Judge and Stanton, and you've got Rizzo who can draw a walk, he can lay down a bunt, he can hit a homer. He's a pretty.
He can stick his arm out there.
Yeah, he gets hit a lot.
Which I love.
You see these guys. A lot of them hit for power. A lot of them are veterans. A lot of them, can do a lot of things for you offensively. And to see a lineup like that, just have these like impotent games where they can't get runs across. Like once they're trailing, like there's no fire to come back. I mean, I think that's the frustration, is seeing a team that has so much talent, that has so much offense, that has so much firepower. It's a very decorated lineup, right? If you look at what these guys have done in their careers, and to get swept like that just shows you that like something's not working.
No, I couldn't agree more. And Wayne, right before I ask you what bummed you out the most, I realized we just got a comment that says small ball versus long ball. Used to be teams played small ball around with 3, 4, and 5 hitters in a lineup who played the long ball. Terms like exit velocity, launch angle, or in park killing the game. Everyone can't have the long ball mentality. And I couldn't agree more with that. I think, everyone's swinging out of their asses, aside from guys like Bader and Rizzo. That's the only reason that game 4 was enjoyable, was because they started hitting the ball. But again, I'm still saying everything is what I'm mad at about the postseason. But Wayne, let's go with you.
I'm just the opposite. I'm a big hope springs eternal guy. I'm not disappointed. I had a blast watching Aaron Judge this year. I'm
not saying regular season. I'm just saying specifically this postseason.
I'm disappointed they lost, but I mean, then you just got to move on and find out what we do to get better, guys. You know, that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
But I just appreciate what I watched. I mean, before this year, the greatest season I ever watched was playing 162 with Barry in 2004. That was magic. I mean, it was
not all of us got to do that, Wayne.
What's he going to do tonight? That's what we were all thinking. We're just like, oh my God, you know?
Oh my God, that must have been insane.
Yeah, but I can give you a funny story. Remember the funny stories I told you I had?
Please do. I like ending on a funny story after we were just talking.
Okay.
We were just talking like it's a funeral. Let's end it on a funny story. Wayne Franklin, you said you owed me 2 funny stories.
I got one that is about.
No, we use one this time. We'll save one for the next one because the next one's going to be depressing too. I guarantee it.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 stories. The main character, one is Harry Carey. The other one is Frank Robinson.
Oh, jeez, this is already like a weird dream.
Who do you want? Which one?
You know what? Let's go with Harry Carey just because you brought him up first. That one just subliminally probably meant he was closer in your mind. So let's go with that.
Yeah,
I'm like the mental skills coach for the Yankees. See?
You'll appreciate this one. It was my rookie year, so that was 2000. I was with Houston, and we were in Chicago playing the Cubs. And I came in to pitch, and I pitched whatever I had to pitch, and then I went up to the clubhouse, and I was just watching the game, and Harry was being Harry. And the camera kept flashing to this guy who had a Cubs jersey on, and his girlfriend or wife with him had an Astros uniform on. And it kept flashing to him. And all of a sudden, Harry, out of nowhere, a couple innings later, just says, in his Harry Carey voice, I can always hear Will Ferrell doing it, but
he goes, the only way I hear it too.
Yeah, he just goes, okay, I think I got these 2 figured out. He kisses her on the strikes, and she kisses him on the balls. He said that on air, man. He said it on air.
God bless him. Wait a minute. I've read about this. That was about you after they went from you to that?
I was already in the clubhouse. I was watching it on TV in the clubhouse.
Oh.
He kisses her on the strikes, and she kisses him on the balls.
Oh,
I was like, how many Budweisers deep was that, man?
I mean, it's Harry Carey. So they were old styles. Remember, at Chicago.
Yeah.
So they were old styles.
Yeah,
but we've all made that mistake before.
Dude, if I had any food in my mouth, I would choke.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. I know. Oh my God, that's great. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for coming on the High Yanxiety Autopsy Report, Part 1.
Autopsy.
Oh yeah, that's definitely that's going to be the theme of the shows that we do over the next week, because one show just can't handle it. Again, I want to thank Wayne Franklin. I want to thank Frank Gulino. As you know,
I'm not used to hearing that name.
What, Wayne Franklin?
No.
Wayne Franklin Gulino? Oh, sorry, but I can't get weird with it.
I'm not Gaetti.
I know. Well, so he's not Gaetti. So once again, Gary Gaetti was not here joining us on
that is a show. That is a future show to have the real Gaetti and at not Gaetti.
I bet we could get him.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
Gary Gaetti,
sure.
If you're listening, come on, you got to do.
We'll make it happen.
Good dude, man.
It's a long off season. We have to have some fun with it somehow.
Absolutely.
Again, guys, I want to thank you. We'll do it again, Frank. Anytime you want to come on, man. Serious.
Absolutely. I'll be here.
We did get through the list mostly, except the thing on the bottom that said build the steps outside for that, but you didn't write that, so don't worry about it. I'll do that tomorrow. And I more or less got them done. But I want to say thank you again. We'll do this again. 45 minutes of fun and baseball talk, and we will join you once again on High Yanxiety. I'm Chris Vitali, or Vitali, whatever the hell you want to call me, Frank. I was telling you about that. I got called that 3 times today trying to change my stupid flight to Albany. Mr. Vitali. I was like, yeah. Mr. Vitali. I was like, yes. Mr. Vitali. I was like, yeah. I don't care. I don't care. Call me whatever. I don't give a shit. Change my flight. Anyway, we will catch you next time here on High Yanxiety. Thanks for joining us. ladies and gentlemen, I don't know, go Phillies?
Good baseball.
Yes.
Go baseball. I think the Dominican League just started up too, so we'll figure that one out.
We'll find something to watch.
Guys, we'll see you soon. Thank
See
you.
you, fellas.
Take care, guys.
Wait, I think I just hit end. Wait, hold on. Okay.